All right, you're asking for it, so here it is. Listen to this.
I want you folks laughing at we partners pod, kid. You understand? We in here drinking, singing, all that shit, dog. Sweating, getting wet, all that.
All right, welcome to the 127th episode of the Drinking Partners podcast. That is a hell of a number to say, like to try to make swaggy. But this is our Vladimir Guerrero episode because Day doesn't know who the hell that is.
Nah.
And I'm gonna just say this: in this episode, we taking the gloves off, and he is well known for batting without gloves at a time where batting gloves were a fashionable thing. Like I remember in elementary school, dudes start wearing Nike gloves just randomly to school, like Nike gloves and New Era fitted. So shout out to Vladimir Guerrero showing off his ashy hands and all that shit on national television. I'm half of your hosting town. I'm Ed Bailey. I'm joined as always with my co-host Dave Bracey. Say what up to the people.
What's good with you people? We are Drinking Partners, and if you're looking for us, you can find us on epiccastnetwork.com/partnerspod. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, and Google Play under Drinking Partners. And you can find us on IG, Twitter, and Facebook at PartnersPod. 127 episodes, man. We've been asking y'all. We're going to continue to ask you, man. Please hop on iTunes, rate and review. That's how we know we're doing well. That's how we let others know that we're doing well. And that's how we continue to do well. So please hop on iTunes, rate and review, man.
Hey, man, you love us when you see us in person, in public. You tell us you love us. Now just at the click of a button, tell the internet. You know what I mean? And as always, in lieu of rates and reviews, we do take shots of Henny when you see us out. Shout out to Car Guy DJ, my boy James.
Shout out to James. Yeah,
he came to the Lotus show, man. Shout out to everybody who was on the Lotus show. That was
sold
crazy.
Out show.
Sold out. Southside, WDVE put it on. It was crazy.
Shout out to Tom Clinkers. It was crazy because I got up there and like they was sold out, and he was sitting outside like, I can't get a ticket. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And then Tom came through. Yeah, I mean, what was that? Maybe episode 120.
Yeah.
Came through and he was like, I got an extra ticket. And it just worked
scalping.
he just worked out that way. Like, so.
I feel good, man. We're scalpable. You know what I mean? Like, we've gotten so much notoriety here in the city that people scalping tickets to our shows. Like, shit is dope.
2 for $20.
It feels good. But then, of course, Dave Bracey, as the businessman that he is, he ended up with a ticket. Like, he's scalping. So I don't know if you can scalp tickets to your own show, but that's a precedent that Dave Bracey.
Somehow I got a beer out of that bitch. So
looking for new streams of revenue out here. That's what we do. We look for new streams of revenue. Like we out here printing tickets on the printer at the crib to our own shows.
He owes you. This episode is brought to you by Voodoo Brewing. Just in case y'all was wondering, man. Shout out to Voodoo sponsoring the episode. Always looking out, man.
Voodoo is love, and I'm very. That's why I say we taking the gloves off this episode, because if you've listened to the podcast, if you know what time it is, like when we drink the Voodoo, shit gets real.
Very real,
no
man.
joke. Like we're on the Love Child right now.
Yeah. It's 9%, a little heavier.
9.5%.
Yeah, it's a Belgian. It's fruity. It's delicious, man. If you're not into the hoppier things, you just want to kind of something a little sweeter, something to kind of take your mind off the day, chill out and relax. Like it's a nice sippable brew. So check it out.
Voodoo's doing big things, man. Like they have 3 Pennsylvania locations now. They're in Erie, Meadville, and of course my location that I hit up all the time is in Homestead.
Yeah.
So shout out to Voodoo, man. They're pushing the envelope. Shout out to Jake. He was on the episode, for a certain time, and then
yo, man, we be tapping Jake out. I just want to let it, man. We tapping Jake out.
We did 2 episodes with Jake, and we got the equivalent of 1 episode's worth of content. That's how we tapping on that Voodoo. So it's all love.
We got an announcement. We gotta have Buzzy put in them horns, like, but apparently Voodoo is trying to expand over into Cleveland, man. Like, is what
love right there.
Word on the street is that you might be able to get a couple of these out in Ohio. I don't know.
That's love, man.
So look out for details for that, man. That's big news, and
that's one more reason for me to move home, and for me to have an argument that, hey, Cleveland, as much as y'all shit on us, we up there with Pittsburgh, man, just not with Super Bowls. We don't have the Super Bowls, but we got a real downtown, like an actual destination downtown for
It's a
tourists.
nice spot, man. They got the Steve Harvey shop down, the little suits and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, like fuck Steve Harvey.
Talk about KT.
Yeah, I mean,
What was it? K&T?
Does it sound like a K?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
that's
remember in high
amazing.
school when you try to get that first suit because it's a funeral. Because that's how you your first suit is for a funeral. It's not for a happy occasion. Like you get the 5-button coat. Like you try to be as jazzy, as snazzy as hell. And Steve Harvey, he cornered the market of like young niggas' first suits. You know what I mean? Like he got all the buttons for it. You got all the stripes. He got the pocket squares. You could go get your Stacey Adams. The bottom of your suit, the pant leg look damn near like a bell bottom. It's wide as fuck.
Yeah.
You got the military crease going down, pleated at the top like Steve Harvey.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, if you see a nigga in one of them suits, he probably owed the church money. Like, I mean, he does.
Or he owned the church. Now in Cleveland, that's how the pastor dressing. Pastor didn't update his joint.
Yeah.
Like he's still rocking that. You know what I mean? Like he got the Steve Harvey collection all in his closet.
That's collection plate money, man. They coming in with loose change and envelopes, like. But yeah, they're going to be out in Cleveland, and the thing we love about Voodoo is that they're employee-owned and veteran-operated, man, which is super dope. I spent a lot of time, working with the vets and whatnot, and they're an underrepresented community. So shout out to Voodoo for all the work that they do.
Drink Voodoo. Every day's Memorial Day.
There it is. There it is. You can have that. You paid for it.
Yeah, you paid for that. That's yours. Y'all should put that up right on the homestead or put it up on the Cleveland location. Every day is Memorial Day. We be cooking out in Cleveland. You know what I mean? Like, you'll sell mad big. Just put that up there.
True. And if you're looking for them, man, you can find them at Voodoo Brewery or at Voodoo Homestead, man. Check them out online. Follow them. They always got big events. Check follow the Voodoo truck that be around and whatnot. They got some them tacos be hitting. You know what I mean?
I'll be riding around Pittsburgh looking for a good taco every now and again. There's not a lot of places where you get a good taco.
They're always on a truck. You gotta like chase trucks down.
Right. There's always on. We need something stationary. We need, something that you got a lease. You know what I mean? You got a lease for, or you own the building and you just got tacos in there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple joints. You know what I mean? Once they start paying us to shout them out, we might drop a couple names. But on that,
I don't know what they just said, but up until that point, we sounded real good, and that's because we're on the Epicast Network. So if you're looking to get your podcast to sound better, maybe you want to start your own podcast, if you need help promoting an event, if you want to advertise your product on an award-winning podcast, and they created that award for us. Like, that was not, they created that show.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a podcast category. There was a podcast category, and then they were like, it's yours.
Yeah, but we sound this way because of Epicast Network. So you go to epicastnetwork.com/services, you fill out the form, and tell them that we sent you. Tell them that we sent you, man.
Get that hookup, man.
So again, they make you sound better. They can make you look better. They could just make people know that you are out here. They could just be, an avenue for you to just get your joint out there.
Yeah,
so
go to any of our pages, man. All those pictures and shit, and it look like we'd be having a good time. It don't even be that good of a time, man.
Unless it's at our show.
Yeah,
because we scalping tickets. So at our shows, it's a good time because we scalping the tickets.
That shit, man. They make that shit pop, man.
And speaking of our shows, we got a couple coming up. Got a couple big ones coming up.
Yeah, so. July 15th, we'll be back down at Bricolage. And Farm to Table is going to be in the building, and they're bringing friends. So we got Fury Brewing coming through, Kingview Mead coming through, and Boyd and Blair Vodka. We'll all be down there pouring out samples, getting you all nice and lubricated for the show. And then we got headliner Johnny Dam coming through.
Yes.
So, come in. It's $15 at purplepass.com/BYOB1. And it's BYOB1 because it's BYOB and we give you free booze, man. Like, it's...
Come on, man. It ain't better $15 you can spend in your life.
Nah.
Come there. We do all the game for you. We get her laughing, you know what I mean? You get your BYOB. It's a good night for you. It's a good night for her. It's a good night for everyone, man. Just come down.
$30 date night? Where they do that at?
In Cleveland, actually. We also now, this is a huge announcement. We've been talking about this for a while. We are very excited about this show. July 28th and 29th, we're bringing Mike Kaplan out to the Contra Theater, man.
Yeah,
it's going to be huge.
That's going to be big.
We got Mike Kaplan on the bill. You should know who that is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we got
Netflix.
Netflix. what was it? Last Comic Standing.
Last Comic Standing. Comedy Central presents
Conan,
Seth Meyers. I mean, he's been on everything,
he's
man.
been everywhere.
You
And,
go check all that out, watch all that, and then come have a drink with old boy.
have a drink that you brought. Have him have a drink of something that you like, something that you recommend. And then we got Sean Collier from DVE on the show. We got the big homie T Rogue on the show. Day and I will be slanging the jokes, man. It's gonna be a big night.
Yeah. We got Apis Meadery coming Friday night. I mean, giving out the free booze, and then we got Rheingeist Brewery coming out Saturday night. So it's gonna be huge, man. If you're looking for tickets, that's comtotheater.ticketleap.com, man. Like, get them early because we might not have them at the door.
Right, and we might not be scalping those. Or we scalping them at Super Bowl prices. Then we got July 22nd. We have War Streets. They're gonna be down there hosting the Hurry Up and Say Something.
Battle and Brews.
Okay, this
comedy
Battle
battles and brews. Be down there. Dom, Epicaz will be down there. We more details on that, but we'll have the folks. Basically comics come in and they battle it out with the crowd. All crowd work. You know what I mean, back and forth. Don't sit in the front, man. Is all.
Sit your ass in the front. Say something to these people.
Yeah.
Man. Don't be scared of these comedians. Say something to them.
You want to heckle. I mean, everybody think they could do it a little bit better, and everybody, you know how you get them shows and like they be like, yo, this ain't a back and forth. Like, let me do my bits. It ain't none of that. You get to holler out as much as you'd like at this show, man. So come through, have some fun. We got the Pittsburgh Taco Truck gonna be down there slinging tacos or whatever. I'll be hosting that, and we'll get you details on the comics on that. But that'll be down at the War Streets Brewery, July 22nd.
All right, and on August 26th, we got Quincy Jones coming in. He was he headlined the Pittsburgh Comedy Festival last year. Now he just wants to come and hang with his boys. So we'll have more details on that. That'll be at Contra because we're out there every last Saturday of the month. So keep up on the details. We'll have those out soon.
Yeah.
But
check out his HBO special. I mean, check it out and then come see him on the 26th.
Hell of a story, man. Hell of a story. But we're gonna get into our guest this episode because I'm gonna keep it real. I'm very excited. I want to just watch the banter between this guest and Day because this guy, he's outspoken just as Day is, and I feel like Day is gonna try to challenge him on some things. So I'm gonna be sitting back. I'm gonna be over here narrating like to the side. Like it's gonna be on. We gonna release this with closed captioning where I just kind of let y'all know what's going on. We got Damon Young in the building, author and editor in chief of the Very Smart Brothas website. Say what up to the people, man.
What's going on? What up?
All right.
Word.
All right. He's ready for war. That's how I'm ready.
So you know what? I gotta say that y'all, that was the longest fucking intro. And just in terms of how much shit y'all had to shout. It was like a Woo album. Like listening to y'all before y'all got started with the show. Like, my goodness.
Yeah.
How many different brands y'all gotta give love to?
We gotta give love to everybody who show love because that's how we do. Like we got a different.
I mean, it was entertaining. I mean, I was entertained by it, and y'all made it seamless and organic. But that was like, holy shit.
We didn't give you the. I don't know. We didn't give you the. We normally give the guest a heads up.
Yeah.
We definitely did give you the heads up. I thought about it when I started. I was like, damn, I didn't tell him like, yo, we don't bring him right in.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's cool. I mean, I was entertained. I appreciated the skillfulness that y'all just weaved in and out of all the corporate bullshit that y'all had to do, and I appreciate it.
I'm glad it seemed seamless because
it felt. I know there's a lot of work that goes into it, but it felt organic. It felt seamless, and I appreciate the professionalism there.
So, tell us about Very Smart Brothas. Like, how did that come to be? How did you become a part of it? Like. Let's start it. What is Very Smart Brothas?
All right, Very Smart Brothas. It's a platform. It's a blog. It's a digital magazine for niggas who read. That's what it basically is.
I like that.
Yeah, that's we cater to people who
niggas who read. Y'all got to do something with that.
Yeah, we cater to people who who enjoy a certain type of irreverent, maybe sometimes tongue in cheek, sometimes witty, sometimes powerful type of content that you might not find on the much larger publications like the Washington Post, New York Times, whatever. And we have the freedom to say some of the things that we say, and we take advantage of that freedom. We race, pop culture, politics, chicken, grits, basketball, wherever the fuck.
Y'all touch it all.
Yeah, we try to get on it all.
And I would say that's what I've enjoyed about it. it's like talking to one of your boys. Like reading it, it's like talking to one of your boys. Like being a young African American who went to college. You know what I mean? Like it's like talking to one of your boys that you met in school. But it's also like talking to one of your boys. Like it ain't like, oh, we're just discussing this, that, and the third. Like you can get a multitude of topics, a variety of topics on there, and you get it like as a real person. It's not. It doesn't feel like an editor looked at this. It doesn't look like an author just wrote this. It feels like a real person just wrote this. But this individual's intelligent. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we try to take them same conversations that we have, like barbershops, game nights, happy hours, barbecues, brunches, all that shit, and try to put them on the internet, edit them up a little bit, touch them up a little bit, so that they have some sort of I guess editorial rigor and quality to them. But yeah, it's that's basically what we intend to do, and to make VSB a space where people can come and sometimes we have like 1,000, 2,000 comments on our pieces, and it's a space where people just can come and the topic might be about Bill Cosby, but 500 comments down, it's about Rihanna. Or it's about...
Isn't that how comment sections
in the
go?
comment section.
Yeah.
Or it's about swine. Or it's about something.
Or it's about LeBron. Let's keep it real.
LeBron,
He show up in every comment
LeBron,
section.
yeah. This is LeBron. This is like LeBron season right now. It's fine because he's in the finals every year. So from May to like July, if you write something on the internet, LeBron is going. He's like Candyman.
Yeah,
basically.
That's how it goes. Like
you're just gonna pop up.
Do you go into the comment sections and do you comment on comments that are made? Or?
I used to.
Okay,
I used to, but
it's the sharks.
Yeah, I used to.
Like blood in the water.
But it's like there's just so many of them,
right?
And I'm doing a lot of other shit. And we moderate them, like we'll go in from time to time and see if somebody's like getting out of hand and being like insulting or whatever. But for the most part, I feel like I wrote my piece, I said my piece. You could reply, you could respond to it, and like the exchange is over.
Yeah,
like I don't need to continue. Like sometimes I will go back in, but for the most part, it's like this is what I said, and I said it already. And now you're saying what you're saying. Yeah, and I'll give you space to say that. If you say something that's really egregious or something that I feel compelled to respond to, maybe I will. But mostly, I'm after I've said what I need to say, I'm doing other shit.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're on stage, like and like a motherfucker want to keep talking. It's like, listen, man, this ain't a two-way.
Yeah,
like,
I got other jokes, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah,
yeah, that is true. But I will say, like, the only difference was being on stage. Like, they catch you at the bar after stage. Like, when you get off stage, they'll catch you at the bar, and they'll bring that up. So, like, on your other social media sites, do you find people coming and commenting on? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, do you just ignore them? Are you muting people?
It's
okay to mute.
It's one of them things where
you go from Twitter, you beautiful Twitter, your Instagram, like this ain't over, B.
About that.
It's funny because I get so much of that now is an excuse because I get so much of it. It's like, I just didn't see it. I get, and it's true. Like I don't. But even if it wasn't true, I would still say that.
Yeah.
But it just so happens to be true.
Well,
where there's like so much of it. Yeah.
Fellas been using I ain't see that with their girlfriends since since the cell phone was invented. Like since we first got pages, we didn't see that you hit us up.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know you called. I didn't know you texted me.
Before that, it was I ain't hear that.
On the house phone.
Yeah, the house phone. What? Right?
I was in the bathroom. I don't have caller ID. And we had the rotary phone.
You don't see shit till it's convenient to be said.
Yeah, I will leave that motherfucking dot hanging there for quite some time. Like, speaking of social media, you recently had some issues on Facebook.
They wanted to go here.
Oh no, I've been waiting to go in.
He's been waiting.
Just to preface it, I got banned on Twitter because I went at Steve Harvey because I called him the fucking King Coon of Hotep Nation, right? So they banned me for like 12 hours.
Well,
right?
now
they banned me for 12 hours, right? So I got back on and I was like, yo, I just got this Sambo Supreme ass nigga Steve Harvey got me banned. For harassment because I called him King Coon of Hotep Nation, and then I went in again and was like, told him his mustache smelled like, brown water or whatever the fuck. Like, but then there was a string of tweets, right? So they banned me for a day. For a week after that. Made me delete the one tweet. I come back As soon as I get back on my account, they're like, "Oh yeah, about the second tweet, and here's another 7 days." So I'm on 2 weeks now. Fucking
He got in-school suspension.
Wow.
because I
he can
came
still
at
see his
Steve Harvey.
He's still
Wow.
got to go to school, but he got to go sit in that other room. You know what I mean? You can't talk to your friends.
And there's a third tweet out there. So it's likely I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks because I came at Steve Harvey's coon ass. So fuck Steve Harvey.
Hey
Fuck
man,
you,
hold
Twitter.
on. Well, this podcast has a Twitter handle, so we need to edit that because we got shows that you heard the introduction. We got shows we got to promote.
Yeah, no, fuck Steve Harvey. But yeah, no, you had to run afoul.
So you know what? I actually used to teach, and in-school suspension is the perfect way to describe that type of like the Twitter jail or the Facebook prison, whatever the fuck you want to call it, because everyone hates like you could tell a kid he's going to be out for 3 months. Mm-hmm. He would prefer that to a day of in school.
Oh
Yeah.
hell yeah!
Like because in school was like torture.
Oh my God, I hated it in
Yeah,
school.
they give you like your you can't eat the regular lunch. You have to get like an apple and some applesauce. It's like it's the same thing.
No choice. You
Yeah.
got to sit in a cubicle.
You got to sit in a cubicle
Oh yeah,
all
you
day.
in a room that they don't use no more.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
in
the
that attic.
Yeah,
Like,
That's
yeah.
what
You
we-
in the school attic or basement.
Yeah.
The teachers don't fuck with you because they know you're in school. They know it's supposed to give you some assignments, but they end up giving you like some fucking shit to color. So you already behind in your class, and you don't see nobody. You don't go to lunch. So anyway, that's a good analogy to in school suspension. But yeah. So what happened with me is I wrote something about just some of the hate mail that I get. Well, no. Even go back further.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say
wrote
the original
something.
post
I
was
wrote
something
something about Philandro Castile,
Right.
and about his the verdict where the officer who killed him was acquitted of all charges for the murder. I'm not even going to say the killing, for the murder that
Yeah.
we saw
That was
on
an execution.
We saw on camera.
Without question.
And it's basically saying, with these acquittals is that all cop has to do is say they were scared.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
It's not
It's systemic.
objectively fear. It's I just got to be like I felt fear. It's very
And it's systemic because there's I mean, the way the rules are set, the way the laws are governed, like there's no way around that. That's what it is.
Well, the thing is that like, and the thing that I hate is, they give the juries these explicit instructions, but what the jury is there for is to have that common sense reasoning. So they are able to go into that room, and whatever's discussed in that room is discussed in that room. They can come back out with a guilty verdict, and they don't have to explain themselves. I mean, that's the power of the jury, but I feel somewhere, between, the beginning and now, it's been hijacked, and they're giving these juries very explicit instructions like, well, this is the law. And like, if that's the case, then why not just have a judge? If you're going to tell them what the law is and what they should be deciding, like...
Yeah, I mean it's a mess. Like, and we could have a whole nother podcast talking about just that, just the legality and all that. So anyway, I ended up writing a piece about that, saying that I forgot exactly what it was, but in the piece the title had something to do with it being open season on niggers.
Right.
Which again,
It's been that for a while.
it's been that for 400 years,
Yeah.
basically. And we keep forgetting about it, and every time something like that just happens, like, oh yeah, I forgot it's nigga hunting season. And so I wrote that, which is a piece that isn't racist, but it addresses racism.
Yeah.
And it uses language that, nigger is, however people feel about it, is an explosive word.
Yeah.
And so I shared it on Facebook, shared it on Twitter, and it did pretty well on Facebook. I think it ended up getting like, thousands of shares or whatever,
That's pretty well.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we with royalty right now. Like, thousands of shares. That's pretty well. Like, not thousands of likes. Shares. Like, yo, I need somebody else to see this.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday.
And so that happens, and then I get a message from Facebook telling me that I, that they had taken that post down from my person, because I shared it on my personal Facebook page.
Okay.
So they took it down from there, and I was thrown out of Facebook for 24 hours, where I could still see posts, I could still read everything,
So you was
but
in
I couldn't.
school.
Yeah, I was in school. I couldn't comment. I couldn't like. I couldn't make a status, and this is like the third time that's happened to me.
Okay.
And then I think that's why I had the 24-hour suspension. Usually they just ask you to take shit down. And so this happens. And so this happens like on a Friday or Saturday. And I wasn't going to be on Facebook anyway that during the weekend really that much. So I was like, all right, whatever. So, but the thing is, in my inbox, my British, yeah, in my inbox, these wankers, in my inbox, I have like dozens of hate mail. People calling me nigger, people calling me all types of names, people threatening me, and it's like, yo, how is Facebook going to, however way their moderation is set up, or whatever algorithm they're using, or whatever entity that they have that moderates this, how are they going to put me in Facebook prison for acknowledging racism? But when real actual racism exists, there's really no safeguard against that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I recognize that it's different. I recognize that there's a big difference between a public post and a private message. A public post is a lot easier to regulate than private messages. But, and they're not the same thing. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? If I want something to actually be done about this, then what's better for me? For me to report this or for me to write about it and get some attention? And so that ends up happening. And now I actually meet with someone from Facebook tomorrow.
I was going to be my follow up, what has been the response with that? So that's awesome.
We're gonna talk about just having like a better moderation, whatever, and also giving my page some sort of like protection from that, from people like reporting it as like racist or racism or whatever, when it's clearly not. It's just acknowledging the presence of it.
Oh, you about to get the Steve Harvey goons.
Yeah, I guess so.
You about to get Steve Harvey goons on your side.
I need to find somebody at Twitter.
No, you not getting no Steve Harvey goons on your payroll now.
The thing is, I've seen, man, I've seen a lot worse shit on Twitter.
I see shit on my mentions. I've been called all kind of baboons and all kind of wild shit. I've seen motherfuckers threaten people with guns and this. I've seen a lot of, like, Twitter is the wild, wild west. Yeah. You know what I mean? And of all the shit that I've seen in my mentions alone, let alone what shit goes viral, and you shut me down because I called Steve Harvey a fucking coon. Like,
you called him King Coon.
I called him King Coon.
Followed it with a Sambo.
Yes. I mean, did you hear what he was talking about?
Oh, he was wilding.
Yeah, talking about go home and enjoy your brown water. How do you say that in your position? As a black man, a rich black man, how do you say that?
That's how you say it in your position, though. Like, you got dudes get rich. Everybody don't get rich the same.
That's wildly irresponsible.
Like, he went to Glenville. I know that high school.
Yeah.
Like, he was around motherfuckers with brown water. We just wasn't Flint, Michigan. Like, I know Glenville. No, I got homies who went to Glenville and all that shit. Like, for you to get money and then separate yourself from those people in that way, that I think is deplorable in itself. I'm not here to govern anybody's. You got free speech, whatever you say, whatever the fuck you want. Because at this point in my life, I don't even waste my time trying to stop people from saying shit. But I'm gonna look at you some type of way. Like, I can't. I don't fuck with Steve Harvey anyway. It just he did that whole special with that glittery suit. Like, you can't. You putting Cleveland on. Like, you can't come out in a sparkle suit, fam. You look like Tinkerbell's prom date. Like, get the fuck out of here. But just on some other shit, I don't really rock with Steve Harvey like that. But
yeah, he the St. Peter of the sunken place. Like, when you go to the sunken place, they got Steve Harvey greeting you at the door
in that sparkly ass suit with wings.
Suit with like 10,000 buttons, like each button smaller than the next, like all the little ass buttons.
Oh, the descending buttons.
Yeah,
that's what you call it, descending buttons.
That's who that. And the thing is, I used to fuck with Steve, like back in the King of Comedy. He was legitimately fun. Like, I went to see him. I went to see the Kings of Comedy when they were on tour. They came to Pittsburgh. I think this was like 2000, like maybe 1999 or 2000.
They came to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they came to Pittsburgh.
So Pittsburgh been popping.
And he was, out of all of them, he was the best one.
Yeah,
out of all of them in Pittsburgh. Now, if you watch the show, Bernie Mac was like tore the house down on the show that aired.
Right. Yeah.
But when they were in Pittsburgh, Steve Harvey had jokes for Pittsburgh, like specific jokes about black people at the airport and all this other shit about Pittsburgh. And so I used to fuck with him, but he just, in the last decade and a half, this nigga just or I'm not going to say that he lost his way, because what ends up happening when niggas get money like that is that they don't change. They just are finally able to be the people that they always wanted to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they get to
expose themselves.
They get to look down on the things that they did. You start to look down on the things that you didn't like, that you grew up around, and it's like, why look down on them now? You know what I mean? Like, you just because you don't like certain shit, fine. Like, you can always preach about bettering ourselves as a community and stuff like that, but you never go to somebody who has that type of situation and just shit on that. Like, you in their city, fam. Like, you there. Why the fuck is you here? You know what I mean? But I want to ask you two something, because I look at you guys and I respect both of you two immensely. And I guess I'll start with you, Damon. Like, when writing a piece that may be racially charged, what's the thought process behind that? Do you try to like massage it in a way so that you don't get, the backlash where they might try to pull the piece, or do you just go straight raw with it? You know what I mean? Because people, like, we live in a time where we have these platforms where you could say anything you want at any point. Like, Twitter is basically, my girl says this, she said Twitter is for trolling. Like, that's what it is. There aren't a lot of accounts where you get like actual substantive things, but people troll on there all the time. But if you have something where you're trying to have some substance and it just touches on a subject that would be touchy, like, how do you approach that?
Now it depends on the subject. Like, if we're talking about racism, I feel like I got a great handle on that topic. So that's something that I trust myself. Right. I trust myself with it. And it's like, if I say something that is offensive, I trust myself enough to know, to believe that, it's probably not something that I said. It's their feelings about it. It's not something wrong that I said or did.
That's a good point.
Now there are other topics that are sensitive topics, like maybe street harassment or something like that, where I don't have that same type of confidence with saying whatever. So, if I'm speaking on that topic, or maybe I'm speaking about religion or speaking about a certain political topic that I don't know as much about, then, I'm not going to speak with that same level of I don't give a fuck-ish confidence.
Right.
But, with racism, I know what I'm talking about. I believe I know what I'm talking about. And when people, push back, 99 times out of 100, it's because their feelings were hurt because they just heard some shit they didn't want to hear. And it's not because I said something a certain way or did something a certain way. Because, and again, and to your point about, people having these platforms and, there might be like some pressure that some people feel to I don't know, make shit more, to universalize their content and make this shit, I guess, watered down. But if you look, the people who are kind of rising above the rest of everyone else are the people who are just giving it to you. Like Ta-Nehisi Coates, he doesn't universalize his shit. He's telling you might not agree with him, but he's telling his truth.
Charlemagne.
And he's another guy. He doesn't universalize his shit. So if you want to actually have a voice and want to actually have people pay attention to you, you have to know what the fuck you're talking about, but also you can't be afraid of telling your truth, whatever that happens to be. Now it has to be backed up. Like, when people challenge you, you have to be able to, like, you need receipts.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And you need receipts.
Because everybody, is entitled to an opinion, but I think everybody, like, should be obligated to have to back that, with facts. And I mean, like, where did you get this opinion? A lot of people get opinions and they can't trace the origin of that. And I mean, I heard it from here, or, da-da-da-da. Like, if you're going to say something, that's the thing, like, when I look at offensive, like, because I say a bunch of shit that people will deem offensive or whatever, but like you said, it's, anything that I say, like, I don't delete tweets and I don't, like, make apologies unless, like, somebody presents an argument and you're like, what, I didn't see it that way. I understand that now. And, I mean, because when you give a fake apology, it doesn't show any understanding. I mean, it's just like, oh, I fucked up. You guys didn't like this. Like, I mean, no, like, if you have I'm the same way. Like, if you don't present a decent argument, I'm not going to apologize. But I feel comfortable saying what I'm saying because I'm saying it from, like you said, a place of knowledge, or something I feel comfortable, speaking on. And if you test me on that, I can give you those facts, to back it up or whatever. And you might not like it, you know what I mean? But, like, and like you said, a lot of emotion. And I'm like, all right, I understand you're mad, but what did I say that was incorrect? You know what I mean? And like a lot of people, once they get that, then you start to see, like where they're coming from or whatever.
I think that's in this society, I think that's where the next great battle, that's what we got to figure out in this world now is what is correct. Like being factually correct is different than being socially, acceptable. Like being factually correct, you can be factually correct about a bunch of shit. People just don't want to hear it. And so now it's weird because that's still commonplace where people don't want to hear things. Things have to be socially acceptable, but we've given everybody these platforms to say whatever the fuck they want. Like, what do you expect's gonna happen? Like, why would you be in somebody's inbox mad at them? Just don't read the fucking post. Don't share it. Like, if you don't share it and you follow him and your friends don't, they probably won't see it.
And the things about facts too is that facts, are true. But you could always massage facts. You could always spin facts where even if the fact is still a fact, it's not telling the truth. Like for instance, let's say for instance, my neighbor makes $50 million a year randomly. Okay, I make $50,000, and a fact would be the average household income of this community is like $25 million a year.
Right.
But I don't make $25 million a year. It's just one person that is kind of, so that's, it's a terrible example.
I see where you're going. I see where you're going.
That's technically a fact, but it's not actually telling the truth.
Yeah, like I was having a conversation. Somebody was like, "Oh, well, black people are more successful if they move out of the neighborhood and they live amongst white people or whatever." And like, why don't more black people get out? And I'm like, you got to understand the factors that go into that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that like they just like went out there and like, oh, now I'm a better person because I live amongst white people. There's a bunch of factors that go into a person even going,
Did they
leaving.
Get successful, then move there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, most people don't even have the means to like move outside of their neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, facts are one thing. And I think like, what's important, like when I'm not trying to like push an agenda and make people feel a certain way. I kind of come from a place of a conversation. This is what I've noticed. We have a problem. Let's fix this. This is what I've noticed about this problem. And if somebody, comes in and, have a conversation, I follow a lot of people that I don't agree with on Twitter because I want to have a conversation. So if I am wrong, I'm open to like getting more facts. That's how you get, Like, oh, well, did you read about this? And I'll go do some research and, read some studies or whatever. And because I want to be, more knowledgeable, not just like, like come off as right. And I think that's what a problem with a lot of people that have these mediums, like they come in with this agenda and like say them with like the Steve Harveys or whatever, this is the way it is and da-da-da-da-da, I'm pushing it this way. And anything that comes, on the side, all you're trying to do is win an argument. So you're just going to try to like, push, the facts that, you make your argument. You're not coming from a place of learning. You're not coming from a scientific model where you're trying to figure out, the root of a problem and how to best get, past it.
Yeah.
So now, did you with the difference between writing for Very Smart Brothas and then writing for an Ebony or GQ? Do you think that would be the crux of the difference? Where on here you have more freedom to explore and engage, whereas with those particular publications, I would assume, and I could be wrong, they want you to stick to more of a fact type of thing, more of a socially acceptable sort of situation.
Well, like, okay, with the other writing that I've done with GQ, with Ebony, I've written some stuff for Slate and for Guardian too. I am expected to be me. Okay. Like they asked me to write because they expect Damon from VSB. Okay. So yeah, So
you're in a good position.
Yeah. I don't necessarily have to write like a completely factless column or whatever on VSB, and then if I'm going to write that same thing for GQ, just cite all this shit and, make all these citations and do all of that. I don't necessarily have to do that. What I do, however, is I do change the topic depending on the audience. So, like, for instance, if I'm writing on VSB and I'm writing a piece I would write about nigga, on VSB is going to be different than a piece I write about nigga for GQ. Yeah. Because I know that at GQ it's going to be mostly white people reading it. Yeah. VSB is going to be mostly us reading it. So the language is going to be different. The way I come to a point, I might be saying the same thing in both pieces. And I do try to be cognizant of the audience. But that cognizance doesn't come externally. Right. It's not like the editors telling me to do that. It's more me just wanting, not wanting to write or or me just it's not even necessarily about alienating people. It's more about just there are certain conversations that I feel like if you are having it in front of a mixed audience should be a little different than you would have it in front of a black audience, all black audience. And it's not about fear and alienation. It's more about you just don't want you don't want to make a certain point that you would assume that the black audience is aware of, but a white audience might not be aware of, and you make this point, and then they just take it some other place, and it's completely out of context.
Oh, without question.
Whereas the black audience, the black
Yeah.
audience gets the context, understands the context, and you don't have to explain it in the same way. So I guess to answer your question, on the more traditional platforms, I might do more explaining.
Yeah.
Stuff.
I think and we just had this discussion, me and a couple comedic friends. Chris Rock, one thing that he does, if you've watched Chris Rock, what he'll do is he'll repeat his premise throughout the joke. You know, black women can't go back in lifestyle. He'll say that several times, or he'll say women can't go. He'll say it several times throughout, so that you can always, if you don't live it, you can relate to that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. Like, you got to go back to it. Now, if he's amongst his friends, his homies he grew up with, he probably not going back to the premise like that. But, he plays to largely white audiences, you know what I mean? And that's just by virtue of how his career went, you know what I mean? But he does have to do that, or he feels that he has to do that so that people don't lose sight of what he's saying. Yeah. So it's not to necessarily, what I took from you is not to necessarily make it rosy for these people. It's just so that you don't lose sight of what I'm saying. Like, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. This is
you
what
don't
I'm
want to
saying.
get the message lost in translation. And I mean, basically, I mean, we do that like on stage as well. And like you said, you're the same person. Like, I'm the same person wherever I go. And like, we pride ourselves on, like, when we perform in front of a large white audience, we're still very black dudes. Yeah, I mean, like, while we're there. But it might be a different, like, in, the North Hills as it is in the city, because it comes from a different context. Yeah. But you're still going to get the same message, I mean, back and forth. It's just going to be translated a little different so that you can, you can swallow and get it. Like, it's basically wrapping a pill in a dog biscuit. I mean, like...
Well, you're talking to people who may be observing something as opposed to talking to people who are living something.
It, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't receive that two different ways, I like that. Like, I can learn a lot from, like, when did you realize that you had such power with words? Because I've never looked into writing at all until I started doing comedy. And I guess I'm writing, but I'm more performing.
Okay. All right. So I gotta give you the whole, there's a 20-word answer, or there's an answer that's going to take about maybe 2 minutes. So which one do you want?
2 minutes. We on a podcast.
You want the 2 minute? You want the 2 minute answer? Okay.
2 minutes for like 20 seconds.
Give us the barbershop version.
Version.
Yeah, only I get haircuts, but get them
Let's see. Wow. All right. So all right. So I'm from Pittsburgh. Grew up here. Grew up in East Liberty, but ended up graduating from Penn Hills.
Yeah, I went to Woody High.
You went to Woody?
Yeah,
okay.
So,
where the pretty girls.
Okay.
As an outsider, I heard Penn Hills where the pretty girls.
That was where the pretty girls was.
Penn Hills was where everyone wanted to go for the picnic, for the Kennywood picnic.
Penn Hills picnic was
like
I would sometimes skip the Woody High picnic because it was always like on a Friday. Was it a Friday?
Yeah, it was always on a Friday.
Ours was always on a Wednesday, so it wasn't popping all like that. But Penn Hills picnic, everybody.
And see, Penn Hills, and the thing is, Penn Hills, you had these these like fake bougie black people living out there who's like, and the thing is, this is my perspective coming from East Liberty, where I grew up in East Liberty. Yeah, I grew up in East Liberty. Yeah, rest in peace, East Liberty, which doesn't exist anymore. It's East Side now.
Yeah,
but I was, growing up there in like the mid '90s when you had the Bloods and the Crips and the Law, and it was like, that was what I grew up in. And that's not a point of pride or a point of shame. That's just the reality. That's just where I grew up. And so going from that to going out to Penn Hills, and everyone had like a car or their parents' car. And, you had a lot of girls that, they had the hair and they had like, Guess jeans and shit like that. And so, Penn Hills was like, if you wanted like the Hillary Bankses, the Ashley Bankses, you know what I mean? those women, those girls, then yeah, you would find them.
For our
at
Cleveland listeners, if you grew up in East Cleveland, that's what you did out in Warrensville. That's what you did out in Warrensville.
Like,
and it wasn't even like the parents had like money. It was like their mom worked at Highmark, their dad owned a
they were like
barbershop.
middle
The
class,
black middle
class.
class.
Yeah, and that's the thing in Pittsburgh that we talked about on the, on the Young
Pittsburgh
Black
gets
episode.
that black middle class because I thought Penn Hills was going to, like, in working in Pittsburgh, I thought Penn Hills was going to blossom into, all right, this is the black middle class. Because like Cleveland Heights, Warrensville, like they're like that in Cleveland. We have black middle class neighborhoods where you'll go see a black family, a dude with his children. One's on a bike, one's on, hover around and walking around their own property. Penn Hills, I thought that was going to be that place, just coming here, being in college and working. I'm like, I thought that was going to be the spot. This is where all the Port Authority workers are. That's where the Duquesne Light workers are and stuff like that. But there's
a lot of factors going into why it ain't. Yeah, there's a lot of
huge as fuck. But
I
remember growing, and that like it was crazy that dichotomy because like what he had was court order merged back in like 82. So like we went to like middle school and high school with like rich folk, like rich, upper middle class, like white folks or whatever. And we was being bussed in from like Braddock. So it was a real weird, like, like that culture, I mean? Like, and then with the Penn Hills games, it was wild because like, I mean, they used to fight at all the games. They ended up like banning all the students and only letting parents come to the games because it was wild. But like there was that on our side, it was just that jealousy because like these dudes, that was like they had money and they used to come through and like flaunt it.
Yeah, when I was, we played our hoop games at 3:00, like right after school, where everyone else plays, at 7:30, but our games would be at 3:00.
Y'all ain't
and there would be
concession stand.
and there'd be no one in there but cheerleaders, and like parents that didn't have jobs that could get there.
Niggas used to show up at like it was 10 minutes left in the game, like walking in, like, what is you missed the whole game? Like,
no, I'm not here for the game. I'm here for the let out.
Yeah,
come on, high school basketball games is where you first learn the let out.
Yeah. So anyway, went to Penn Hills, and I actually went to college on a basketball scholarship. I went to Canisius College in Buffalo, and if you would have asked me at like 18, 19 what I want to do for a living, I wouldn't have said I wanted to be in the NBA because I was savvy enough then to recognize that that's what you expected little niggas from the hood to say. Yeah. But that's what I believe. That's what I still believe. And then I actually get to college and I play against some dudes who are at that level. And I'm like, I'm like 6'1", 200 maybe to be my size.
You was hood tall. You wasn't NBA.
Yeah, to be, the guys that are my
hustling
height
under the hoop. Like,
the guys that are my height that are playing in the NBA are freaks of nature.
Yeah.
Like,
Iverson,
Steph Marbury, I played against Baron Davis, AAU ball. He was taking off from like a step inside the foul line, dunking on people, and like I could hoop. But I'm not like I'm not like a freak athlete, which is what you have to be.
He was destined for that.
I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stay in college, hoop whatever, but I need to do something else in my life.
Yeah,
and writing had always been the thing I was interested in. I wrote, English was my favorite class in high school. Get to college, and again, this is the late 90s, so like Love Jones and everybody wanted to be Darius Love Hall.
Oh, damn.
Write them and I was one of them dudes.
I'll watch Love Jones right now.
I was one of them dudes with the kufi and the fucking I remember once I even like had this pair of jeans and I like got this bucket of bleach and I like dipped some old Timbs in it and then pressed the Timbs all on the jeans just to give my jeans like this seasoned as, poetry writing ass nigga look. And so I was that dude, hoop dude reading these terrible ass poetry. Like I had a line in one poem, just to give you an example of how bad this poetry was. Like, you think Ally McBeal could deal with my long straw Mandingo still? And I said that.
Wow. Oh, that was a 1990s rap lyric. Like you would have blown up on that rap lyric.
Oh, and speaking of that,
that was a LL. That was a LL line.
Speaking of that, when I first started writing poetry, it was like the reason why 99% of niggas who start writing poetry in college, they do it to impress a girl.
Yeah.
I wrote a song
especially
if you seen Love Jones, because when he said, "And the funk in your right, is that all right?"
You see that? Yeah.
I was in a notebook at that point.
And so I wrote. So my first poetry was to impress this girl that I liked. But the thing is, what I was trying to write shit and I couldn't. So I just went on the original hip hop lyric archive and I cut and pasted like obscure rap lyrics.
Which, hold on, nowadays in 2017, you created a new market.
The truth. That's a whole style, my nigga. Like,
and that was
use
like my first
the 98 Drake.
Like my first poem was from Street Love, Method Man's verse from Street Love. No doubt she got the best trout there could be, not an everyday average chicken of the sleep. Candidate for HIV. I read to deal with monogamy, queen of be held, black mom.
I respect the choice.
I took that shit, I cut and pasted, I put in the email, boom. And she was like, oh, this is cool.
Like,
no enthusiasm whatsoever. So I did stuff like that a couple more times, and then I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm gonna try to write my own poetry, this bullshit spoken word that I'm doing. And so I started doing that, and my poetry started getting less terrible. And then
what were some of the mediums that you were putting in? Like what was out there
at that point
then?
It was just like email. You just email them to niggas, and I was emailing like I had this one poem about eating pussy before I even ate pussy before my life. It was called Strawberry Klondike, which you could use your imagination.
Strawberry
okay,
Klondike.
I would say that's a dope name for it.
Yeah,
that's a hairy pussy though.
Yeah, well, I mean, because my first thought was I was thinking the red side, and I was like, that's weird, bro. But then I had to think of
that's why they banned
the black
you from
pink.
Twitter, because you always thinking of some wild shit.
It's chocolate on the outside,
and pink on the inside. Yeah, no, I got
I was thinking you get through a little bit of the forest to get to the water.
I wasn't even that.
I forgot pink. Yeah, pink was.
And so I'm writing these poems. I'm sending them to like my niggas. Like, oh, yo, look at this.
So they just wake up with an email of like smooth like this is your line for the night, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they understood you though, because if I woke up to an email like that from my friend, we had to have a phone conversation. Fam,
well, they understood.
What's going on?
Nigga, I'm copy pasting in that and sending that to the man. Yeah, I mean,
it's a smooth ass poetry about cunnilingus. Yeah, they just stayed in their inbox. So anyway, so got that. And then I started writing columns for the black newspaper, and then I became an editor for the black newspaper in college. Okay. And then so I'm writing columns, doing all this shit, and then my cousin Honey, who you all know,
she shouted you out. She said she got you started,
and that's the truth. Like and the thing is, she was a big deal on the internet already.
Yeah.
Like in 2000, 2001, I had no idea. I just knew her as my cousin Sarah. And so she found out that I wrote poetry, and she was like, you know what, I'm gonna build you this let me build you this website as a place to put all your poems.
That's dope.
Because again, at that point, the only way I would keep them was I would email them to myself,
cool
and
cousin,
then
yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, we just pulled a receipt for those who weren't aware of what just happened. That was a receipt.
Yeah, that's literally what happened. And so she built the site for me, and she was like, and also you could do this thing called blog while you have it. So we're going back. So she built this site, and this is 2002. That was my first blog.
That's a love shot and a half. A website. You know what I mean? Like, people don't understand like how much goes in. And a lot of people, when they want to start something, they want to build a website, and then they just realize how much it costs to actually have a decent one. Mm-hmm. And then they start to back out, and then they try to do it on their own. And like, there's only but so much. Especially back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. And also too, when I first started the blog and started blogging, I already had like a built-in audience from being her cousin. So I didn't even have to like start at 0 visitors or 0 followers or whatever. I already had, if he's her cousin, he must be legit.
Yeah.
And so I kept blogging, progressively more, and stopped writing the terrible poetry. And
what were you blogging about?
Whatever. I was a teacher at that point. I was teaching at Wilkinsburg, so I would write about that.
You got plenty to talk about.
Yeah, I had plenty to talk about. I write about that. I write about shit I saw on TV. It was at that point. It was literally like a web log. It was a diary.
Yeah,
that was just public. And
kind of what Twitter is today.
Yeah, and I wasn't like talking about like large topics or big important shit or whatever. It was like shit that happened to me that day, or this stream of consciousness observations and shit like that. And then the blog got more popular, and then I ended up meeting Panama Jackson, who also had a blog. Now Panama is the co-founder of VSB. And we met each other in like 2004, 2005. And we just became friends with each other. He's in DC. I'm in Pittsburgh. We both have these blogs that, have a decent following. So we stayed friends. And then we both actually stopped blogging in 2006, 2007. And I remember I stopped because around that time, there were a lot of people getting fired. You would see a lot of news stories about people getting fired for blogs. And I was working I think at that point I was working at Duquesne University. And I was like, you know what, I can't risk this. And so I took the blog down. And then a year later, we're still cool, and we decided to come together to do Very Smart Brothers. And that's where it started. I think our first piece was like March or April 2008. And then we ended up VSB's start was actually dating, relationship, and sex. Like we were. It's funny. It's funny you mentioned Steve Harvey because we wanted to be like the counterpoint. We wanted to be like the irreverent.
So many more counterpoints.
Yeah, the irreverent, witty, tongue in cheek versions of like all that relationship shit. And so that's how we started. And then we eventually just started evolving and having more types of content. And we actually through all this, we never even met each other. We met each other the first time in 2011.
Really?
Yeah.
So you guys are 3 years into your project?
3 years into the project, and like 7 years into friendship before we actually met each other in person.
Wow. And he in DC.
Yeah. It's not like DC is like fucking Anchorage. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the power of the internet.
I've been stuck in traffic longer than a DC trip, like in Pittsburgh. Man, that's insane. Like like a story, like especially like in that age, like the internet, because I remember back in like that time, like with like MySpace, like 2005, like 2006 or whatever, and like just meeting people like that you met online. Like for me, was like weird as fuck. I was like my boy was like, oh, I'm on MySpace, I'm meeting these bitches. Da, 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 da. I was like, who first, respect the ladies. You know what I mean? Like, no, I wasn't saying respect the ladies. Then.
Dave's in trouble right now, so he not gonna do nothing to further that trouble. I'm like, you're meeting like women off it, like you're just gonna like you don't know these.
Like, how that work?
Yeah, like that. It was just weird for me because I'm like, it's like because catfish wasn't even a term. It was just I don't meet motherfuckers from the internet. It still was a heavy stigma back then.
You missed the whole chat line phase.
I know.
That's what the chat line was.
I got in the chat lines a little bit. I was on AIM and ICQ, whatever, but it was mostly motherfuckers like I was on campus with and shit.
Nah,
so it was different in like college. Yeah, I didn't.
Chat line was on the phone. See, I might be
you a little younger. You younger,
chat
so
line was
it was
on the phone.
different.
You called a number, and chicks from different schools would be on there. Y'all would talk, and then like you had a DM in a chat line where you and a shorty could hit pound whatever. Yeah. Go to a separate room.
See,
and you set it up with
this is literally my first hearing about that.
Yeah,
about
it's a real thing. Like,
okay,
it was over the phone. You was on your mom's phone. You and your cousin was playing NBA shootout, and y'all was talking to chicks on the chat line. And you get somebody to the room, and depending on what mall they chose. Now, mind you, I'm in Cleveland, so there was Richmond, and there was Randall, and then you could meet down at the shopping square.
That's how y'all got.
That's how you knew where she was from. Like you knew
what.
You know what I mean? You knew what shoes you had to wear, what pairs. If you had to throw on your rock jeans, because you know what I mean. She from Warrensville, you got to throw the rock jeans on with the belt to match and the hoodie. Or like if she from East Cleveland, you could throw on the Outcast hoodie because like it was kind of fashionable, but not as expensive. You can get it from Marshalls. You know what I mean? It was a whole like don't let me put my whole shit out there.
My whole mall dating experience was just showing up to Monroeville Mall on the weekend and just hanging the fuck out. Like and just
that was mine too.
That was just clocking shorties as they was walking through or whatever. There was no nothing. It was just, like there might be some pre shit. Like if I went to the Penn Hills picnic, I met her, got the line or whatever, and then we would meet. We was talking, but I wasn't sort of meeting like random people off the internet or anything like that until like 2000, like I don't know, like 8, 9 or so. Like it was still
my
online
mall
dating.
My Monroeville Mall move was like if there'll always be cute chicks working at like the Gap there.
Yeah,
and my move would be to go to the Gap and pretend like I was looking for some shit. And have her come over and ask if I need help. And then like just go through this whole like script of like, my sister, it's like her birthday and you about her size. So, can you That was my mall game. That
Someone
was it.
should-
That was all I had though.
Someone
I couldn't
should
nothing
do
else.
like a blog or a vlog or whatever. No, a blog. We'll do a blog. Not a whole internet magazine, just a blog, just about the different ways dudes used to like the different methods of picking up women. Because there is like women always think that we just stupid, we just one track minded, whatever. But there's a lot of thought
There's a
that
lot.
goes into what we do.
It's
like,
a fucking process.
it is like
It's
we
a
got
process.
a whole plan, like, and we play dumb a lot of times, but we know what
It's a process. It's hard. It's and that's what makes sometimes just getting a number so rewarding.
Yeah.
Where you might not even want to use a number. It's just like, oh shit, this worked.
That's
Well, I ain't going out here
yeah.
for nothing.
It worked.
Like it's good. People fish and throw the fish back. Like,
Yeah.
I ain't out here for nothing.
Women are like, oh, why doesn't he call? He was like, hey, yo, man, that was just a trial now. You know what I
that
mean?
shit
Like,
worked.
Yeah.
It's like working out a joke. Like I
Yeah.
go to this open mic, I try a tagline. If it worked there, then I can take it to the main stage.
Yeah.
But if it don't work there, it don't matter. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing a blog.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
The
call it
old
Today
methods.
Was a Good Day. I'm just gonna talk about all the different ways that I tried to pick up chicks at the mall.
Yeah, and the shit that goes into actually, because like I said, I mean, like back then, the rotary phone, man, if you had a 0 in your number, it was curtains. I'm like, come on, man, I can't be
Yeah.
down there in the basement. I
You
gotta
know, you
work.
gonna get carpal tunnel from that.
Yeah,
You got the wrong girlfriend and your whole wrist is messed up.
My mom upstairs, yeah, I mean, I'm downstairs with the phone trying to be all quiet and shit, and she hear the like, nah.
So let me ask you this, and I don't know if you've ever explored this or if anyone's ever asked you, but like being a college athlete but being into writing, was there were people supportive of that in that time? Because like I know like a lot of the athletes I know, they carry this machismo, this bravado, you know what I mean, where everything's supposed to be super or hyper masculine, you know what I mean, where writing isn't necessarily thought of as such. But for you to be able to embrace that and then not turn that into your career, like I think that's dope, being a college athlete.
Well, I never really felt any of that,
Okay.
when I was in school, and I think also too, I didn't go to like no like NBA factory like Duke or Kentucky. I went to Canisius. It's Division I, but it's not like you're not going to the league from Canisius. That's not happening.
They schedule you in the first 3 games as a trial. Like Duke can schedule you, but they paying your
like
school.
the first game I played as a college was against Kentucky. It was the year they won a national championship.
Yeah, they scheduled y'all to
in
beat
'98,
on y'all.
and they beat us by 30 points. And so maybe if I was at one of them type of schools, but at a school like Canisius, maybe you'll play overseas, but you're going to get a job after you're done with school.
Yeah.
So, there is no like pretense about basketball being like the only thing that you could be into.
Okay.
And also too, I didn't have like a really good college basketball career. I got injured a lot. I tore my ACL.
Oh, wow.
I had like a whole lot of shit, a lot of it self-induced. So the poetry actually served as like, you know what? This is kind of even a way to kind of replace some of that status that I'm used to having. 'Cause I was used to being like, at Penn Hills, I was the dude, and I was used to being like whatever. And I go to Canisius, and I was like a 7th man, 8th man, or whatever. And so, the writing actually helped supplement that, that loss of status or whatever that I felt by not being like the man in college too.
As a man, I feel much better about that. And it's fucked up to say, but like you can't have 2 things. You can't be a hooper and a wordsmith. Like, how are we supposed to compete on this campus?
Man, no,
and the wordsmith is also the hooper. Like,
I told him. I
here?
told him when he walked in, I was like, just forewarning, man. I am biased against motherfuckers that got hairlines and full beards. Like, come on, bro. Like, you just taking it all. Like really.
But your beard comes up. I have beard envy about niggas whose beards can come up higher.
Yeah,
You see mine.
But
It goes low because I can't get it up high. I can't get it up high.
But
so
you
it
got
goes
the
low.
full hair, so it's a whole like
But if your
thing.
joint
Like,
go up high, you got to let it grow long.
Yeah.
Because if your joint go up high, but you keep it cut to the face and dark, you just look like you got the super Beijing. Yeah. Like the dopest Beijing. Like if your joint come right, and people, it's hard to explain, but if your joint cut across the middle of the top of your cheek and hit the top of your mustache, you got to let that joint grow long, man.
Yeah, like Black Thought's always been like my beard goals. Like I've always looked at him as like, I want that nigga's face. But seriously.
So I like, doing what you're doing. I mean, like getting to the levels that you're at or whatever. Like, you know, everybody has that, like those moments of doubt. Like, and you like. I'm sure you have those like what the fuck moments. Like, I mean, what am I doing? Where am I going? Like, I mean, what do you do? Like, how do you get through those like those moments? Like, because you know, as an artist, just as a, you know, what we're doing here with Drinking Porters, like, you know, we have great, you know, it's like almost feast of famine. Like, we're having a fucking amazing year, and then boom, like we go to struggle. Like, it went down early this year, and we're like, how are we gonna get through this? You know what I mean, type thing. And a lot of businesses fold. A lot of people fold, you know, under that pressure. Like, how do you maintain? What are some of your, like, you know, keys?
You know, I went through probably about 4 years of that, of like, you know, and I was just on a podcast like right before I came here, another podcast, and one of the questions that was asked was, you know, about, I guess I'm known for being prolific, for writing a lot. You know, I'll write like 8 to 10 pieces a week, you know, and that is nothing. But I did that because those 8 to 10 pieces, that was a phone bill, that was a car payment, that was my rent, that was brunch, that was a date, that was, you know, whatever I needed to buy.
Shout out to the people who understand that.
Yeah.
Shout out to I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Like,
No days off.
and wifey be questioning like some of the shows I might
Yeah.
do, and I'll be like, nah, look, I'm getting this much. I do this with that show. There go your phone bill. Like,
Yeah.
you Gucci right
Yeah,
now.
like saying no is like I don't say no. Yeah, I mean, it really, unless, you know, I mean, you trying to get me to work for free. Like, if there's some sort of, you know, I mean, money involved in it, probably be there, you know?
Yeah. And so there was I'm fortunate enough to not be at that point anymore, but there was a years where I was there. And so the concept of having like writer's block or having like some type of creative like stalemate, you know, or whatever, where you just can't move forward, I just couldn't, that just didn't really exist for me, because I couldn't. I had to, like, shit, I have to write something. I have to produce something. Like, and now, obviously, there were days where it flowed more naturally than others.
Right.
But on the days where it didn't flow, I had to make something happen, because it just, you know, my livelihood depended on it. And again, and also too, because I was writing a lot and writing a lot for a lot of different publications, it's almost like a muscle memory, where you just do it so much, it becomes like a template in your head, where you don't even have to think about certain things. You could just, okay, here's something that happened, and here's an angle, and here's how I'm going to approach the angle, and boom. And also too, as I mentioned before about how VSB started off with dating, relationship, sex, and that was the focus of our content. Expanding that content allow me to be able to write about whatever. So I'm not limited to, I didn't really have any editorial constraints. Now, obviously, as I spoke of earlier, there are certain topics that if you're going to weigh in on them, you need to know what the fuck you're talking about, because these are sensitive and, you know, very important topics. But having a space where I could, if I want to talk about beer, if I want to talk about the shit I couldn't take last night, if I want to talk about the conversation about grits being overrated, which it is, if I wanted to talk about New Jays, I said that.
He snuck it in there and then tried to keep it moving. Like,
no. We can stop there. We can stop right
we
there.
can stop, and I gotta find out how you think grits are rated.
Okay, this is the thing. So last year, this hasn't really happened as much this year, but last year there was like 2-3 months straight where people were having grit wars on social media about sugar or salt. What's better on grits? What's the best thing to eat grits with? And I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, yo, grits are good, but they're not worthy of grits aren't argument worthy. Like, grits are a food that you eat. You could eat a grit off of a whale's ass. I don't give a fuck what you want to do with a grit.
I mean, because
but it's not important enough.
I agree with that, because one, it should be salty and sweet. That's my thing. You know what I mean, I'll throw some sausage and a little bit of sugar in that bitch, and then like keep it moving. So like, but you know, it's a grain, and it takes on whatever flavor that you put it. So like, I honestly wasn't even aware of the salt versus sugar argument. Like, cause I grew up like my mom from the South, we had sugar in our grits. Like, I mean, like, and it was sweet. And then I got online and I saw it was one of those. I think it was the day after the Sierra versus Future battle. You know how they only had that once a year, but like, and I was like, wait, this is a thing? You know what I mean? Like, put them both in.
Well, that's one of the downfalls of
I love
the social
grits,
media. Like, you can get some fuck shit arguments going like that,
Yeah.
and I think the argument there, to me, the sugar versus salty with the grits, my problem with that is why do it matter? Like, you arguing with this person across the country about how they eat their grits. So what? Like, grits itself, you eat them breakfast, lunch, dinner. Like, I don't
grits
think
grits are amazing.
I don't think they're great.
That's what I'm like. I want to just make like grits are amazing.
Grits are amazing.
I love grits. It's one of the best. One of the better grains.
But to me, it's like arguing about like, I don't know, pulpless orange juice or orange juice with pulp. It's like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
If you want to drink your orange juice,
I can't drink orange juice.
Well, if you should have that argument with whoever's buying your orange juice, but you should be having that argument with a nigga in California.
I agree with that.
I
I
mean,
will
like,
agree with that.
the same thing with
you
sex.
can have a preference, but it's fine to have a preference, but you don't need to have an argument about your preference.
Yeah, it's not like we're legislating sugar or salt like in the grits. Yeah, I mean, like, or we're like, all right, well, we got to have just a pulp only country. Like in that situation, yeah, we should be talking about it. But so, like I say, whoever you have in your bedroom, I don't care. Like, I mean, it is. I'm not.
And that's where I think. So for me, social media, like, it's really anti who Ed Bailey is, and I'm trying to get better at it. But it's so like I really respect individuals like yourselves who can post and have posts with substance and stuff like that. Because I'm more of the, like, being blue collar from Cleveland, like. The way I looked at old heads in my family, you do your thing. Like, my pops and them, like, you buy your house, you put your bar in your basement, you have your drinks in your bar, you go to your spot, you do everything in your space, and you can be informed about things to make your decisions about your life, but you don't really get into everybody else shit. So like, I'm trying to find my social media voice because I'm all about this what I like, this what I do. I don't like this thing, I don't like that. You know, certain social injustices, yeah, I'll speak up on that, but like, just random ass, like, if somebody came to my page with a grits, salty versus sweet shit, I'm gonna ignore that. Like, I don't give a fuck how you eat your grits.
Could be your voice. That could be your voice, though. It's like, you know, this is just, and that's the thing with social media. It's like any other tool. You wield it how you want to. You know what I mean? And if you just want your Ed Bailey page to just be, these are my thoughts. I ate a grit today. Grit was amazing, and or whatever your thoughts are going to be. You don't have to be the person that weighs in.
I'm pretty
like
sure
some people,
it's always going to be grits are amazing. I mean,
some people, some people have a platform where they weigh in on shit. They weigh in, they have opinions, but you don't have to be that. You don't. Like, everyone doesn't have to weigh in on everything.
And that's what, like, I have friends who are like, oh, I don't like Twitter because, you know, it's this or that. And I'm like, Twitter is what you make it. Like, social media is what you make it. Like, you can follow whoever, you can unfollow whoever. You can, like, you decide how you spend your time online. You decide how you spend your time and your attention anywhere. You know what I mean? So if you're not liking whatever's going on whatever medium that you're on, then change the channel. Or, you know what I mean? Like, we live in an on-demand like society, and that's on everything that we have, whether it's news, entertainment, like, you know, and I think that, you know, a lot of people don't fully understand that aspect of it, and I think, you know, an issue is the, you know, echo chambers. You know, Facebook makes it very echo chambery. You know what I mean? Like, with the algorithms or whatever. And you can get that on, you know, with your social medias or whatever. But you can get that with anything that you, any medium that you like, you know, you divulge. If you're only on Jezebel, if you're only on Fox News, if you're only, you know what I mean? And like, you get a lot of people, and that's on both the left and the right. You know what I mean? Like, you have folks that are just, you know, closed-minded on both sides, and they're just like yelling at each other.
That's why and
it's like, you know what I mean?
I don't want to go anti-social media on this shit because those are motherfuckers. I just get so mad at motherfuckers how they are, but they have these platforms, and I'd be like, I don't have to be on that, but I do have to be on that. So I do need to find my voice, and it could be like I'm starting to think of certain things that I can do where I can be Ed Bailey. Like, I'm Ed Bailey at all times. Like, I'm always me. Like, And part of me is just could kind of be on the low with some shit, but social media is like super important. And I know you understand, and obviously they understands what we do. So that's crazy. Now let me ask you this though: in the times that we have now, like from a social standpoint, I personally don't think things are much different than at any point. But we do have a very smart brothers that will reach out and talk about things, and we do have these mediums. Do you feel a responsibility to report through the lens of an educated black man on, like, with these social injustices that we're going through now? I don't think there's anything new. Like I feel like every dude I grew up with has had a run-in with the police that has been less than legal. You know what I mean? Like I know I have. Now, everybody didn't have blogs and shit at their point in their life where they can have somebody who had an internet magazine to report. Are there pressures to report? I mean, are you just like, you know what, I just want to report on this regardless? Do people come to you specifically like, this is what I saw, can you talk about this?
Mm-hmm. So one thing I do want to say, just to go back to what the point Dave made earlier about, people are left and right are in cocoons. And that's true, that, people on both sides of the political spectrum can get into their echo chambers or whatever. The difference though is that when people on the right get into their echo chambers, they make up shit and they kill people.
Yeah.
So that distinction has to be made. It's not the same. When people on the left get there, they protest shit and they get in arguments on Twitter.
I mean the left is more idealist or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, I just want to like everybody to have a flower and like be happy. And I mean, and that might not be reality, but at the end of the day, like they're pushing still a very peaceful agenda as opposed to like I mean that right. They're just like, the right. This is why people like they're justifying why everybody needs to die. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like why everybody except for me, the white Christian male, needs to die. Like that's really what the right is. Like.
Yeah, and I guess to answer your question, no, I feel like I have a responsibility to be me. Okay, and I do recognize that I have a large platform, and there are people who may look at me to be to be the voice for a certain type of for a certain type of reaction, a certain type of content, certain type of opinion, or whatever, but. All I could do is just be as honest as I could be and be as true as I could be. And if you rock with it, then that's great. If you don't, that's great too. But I try and it's a weird balance, and it's a dynamic that I'm still trying to wrestle with, because I do recognize that when people have a certain platform, a certain status, they are looked at as being like, you know what, when you say this thing, it's like a representative of like black men or black people or whatever. And I don't want to be that.
Yeah, no, it's very easy to be like, oh, he said it, so I mean, it must be the voice of
I'm just trying to be as honest as I can. And I feel like honesty is honesty is an aspiration. Like to be truly honest requires you to be truly self-aware about like why you did something or why you thought something or why something is happening. And I feel like that's like a level that we should be all trying to aspire to, but I don't think anyone is there. And that's what I'm trying to do, is get to that point of like true self-awareness where I could actually understand why I'm thinking this, why I'm doing this, why I'm writing this, and and articulate that to people.
So one of the things, I mean, like, especially as comics, and we were talking earlier about having no men around, just having folks that'll give you the like honest opinion, whatever. But the thing is that like you have a project and like you're going and you're like you're the helm of this thing, or whatever, and people are giving you opinions or whatever. Like, how do you differentiate between what is like real and what's, because like you're doing something that nobody else is doing. Like it's a void that needed to be filled. So a lot of the opinions that are come from folks are going to be like, man, no, just do what this dude is doing. And it's like, yeah, you don't get it. I mean, like, but at the same time, sometimes those, those situations are like, yeah, like you were right in, in that sense. And also with the like, with wokeness never having, an end to it. I mean, so what are some examples of maybe sometimes when like, you were set on something, and then you later came to like realize like, all right, maybe this wasn't, you know what I mean? And like, and how do you differentiate the two?
Well, I guess to answer the last question first, I have people around me who I trust. Panama is my, the co-founder of VSB. He's a person I run a lot of stuff by. My wife, I run ideas by her. I run ideas by Honey. I'm writing a book right now, so I run stuff by my editor, and by my agent too. And so and there are also friends that I have that, if I have like a certain point that I want to make or a certain piece that I'm thinking about, and I feel like it might be a little, I don't know, I might not be articulating things the way that I want to, or I might be delving into a really sensitive topic that me as a man maybe needs to be a little bit more careful with. I'll share it with people. I was like, you know what? How is this? What do you think about this? What do you think about a man saying this? Because again, that's something that has to be considered. And I guess to answer your second question, just as I write a lot about race and a lot about racism, whatever, and I recognize that there are things that as a black guy I can say that a white person just can't say. And that's just the reality.
That's just the truth.
Yeah.
Right? Can we just make that let's make that a constitution?
No, it isn't a constitution. It's the 14th Amendment. We were supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. What we got was the ability to say what the fuck we want sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's like the only privilege.
Yeah.
Really. That's it. That's the only privilege. Is that we could say nigga. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, and if I could trade, bank loans and no police harassment and all of that for okay, you all can say nigga, and we give us all of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But as long as we don't get that, then y'all can't say this shit. So, but anyway, taking that same idea about race and racism, and I think that a lot of times as men, we have to, especially black men, have to recognize that, when women are talking about certain things that, that affect them, like sexual harassment, sexual assault, street harassment, things of that nature, we have to give them the same benefit of the doubt that we want white people to give us when we talk about racism.
That's huge,
and
man.
that's something that maybe if you asked me that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I don't have that same answer. And that's just an example of something that as I've gotten older and I guess evolved a bit in my thinking, it's something that I've had to realize. Like, I just can't be a person who says this about racism, says that about racism, and expecting it to be gospel, but at the same time, not apply that same respect to different situations, where people are talking about their experiences and how they feel, and I'm not giving it that same type of same type of respect.
Yeah. I'd like, so now this is the thing so religion and the black church and that whole, because when you look at intersectionalism, or intersectionality, a lot of the issues that in my opinion, that we come, it is heavily affected by the upbringing, in the church. There was the misogyny and in religion and whatnot. And it's tough because you see, a lot of in the black community, one of the criticisms is, like we get a lot of criticism about being misogynistic. The media in general, America is a very misogynistic and violent country. And there's, in the media, but we get, place a lot, rap music is very da-da-da-da. But, I get online and I talk to and I grew up in that, and I do see a lot. And for me, I'm looking at the black church and I'm like, shit. This is. So what are your thoughts? Like, are you religious? And if so, then how do you marry that? Or how do you feel black folks can even get past that?
Okay, I am. I do go to church. In fact, I was supposed to go this morning with my wife and my daughter.
Podcast,
but you know what? But yeah, you know what? I fucked up the times because the podcast was scheduled to be at 10, but it was West Coast time, so it was really at 1 here. But I thought it was going to be 10, so I didn't go to church. And all right, whatever. So that's neither here nor there. But I don't think that church has to be inherently misogynistic and inherently regressive. I feel like religion, and this all religions have been used by people who are misogynists or who want to keep people subjugated and who want to keep people oppressed, and they've been used as tools, to do that. But it doesn't have to be that. And I think that if you find the right church and you find the right community where they use religion as it's intended to be and not as like some sort of weapon to beat people down and to keep people in place, then yeah, I don't see like a conflict between being religious and also being progressive. I think that if anything, if you actually, if you're a Christian and you actually listen to what Jesus actually said, he ain't say none of this,
right,
bullshit about, people, hating each other and killing each other and stuff. Like if you listen to what he actually said,
yeah, Jesus is actually a cool ass dude. He wore, wore sandals. He got down with the prostitutes and the thieves and whatnot.
Makes you cool.
Well,
I think that's
typically if you had a
negative mark on
I
Jesus
feel like typically if you add a motherfucking festival of some sort, like Burning Man or whatever, the nigga in the shoes probably got the good LSD, and he ain't trying to like stab motherfuckers. He got the good vibes.
Drugs, but
yeah, he chilling.
Jesus coming to in my school, in my cafeteria, we riding him.
Yeah,
You
like
got
what are those?
You got them Birkenstocks. You got them Abercrombie and Fitches. You got that little black pinky toe. Now we all over Jesus with that. But he was a cool guy, and I do think institutions in general are manipulated to, I guess, push any agenda that you want. Like you can look at any doctrine in any institution and push your agenda if you spin it that way. Do you watch Greenleaf?
I don't, but I was actually just on a panel with Lamont Rucker, who's in Greenleaf.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just.
Is that an environmental organization?
No, Greenleaf is on
the
the own channel. Oh, there's a whole movement of all black casts, bro. Yeah.
Ain't that the
Greenleaf
chick channel?
is dope.
There's Oprah, but
There's Greenleaf and there's
Queen Sugar. Queen Sugar is really good. Yeah,
Queen
Sugar.
All right, so I fucks with Queen Sugar,
see.
but as I tweeted, I just don't feel comfortable watching Queen Sugar with my significant other because they got that what they call chocolate dude. I don't like. He is a darker brother, but I can't call a dude chocolate. But they call him chocolate.
Did, though.
Well, I quoted it, and we live streaming a little bit. So if you saw my quotes,
this conversation took a dark skin left, like because I completely lost Queen. Like so I'm gonna go break the seal. While y'all.
But like I do enjoy the movement with the all black cast, and I do like the shows do provide a different perspective, a different type of storyline, just a different, like I do enjoy that. And Greenleaf does speak a little bit to the misogyny and just the manipulation of church, where church itself, like I don't have to subscribe to any specific religion to see the value in that religion. It just depends on how you put that off or whatever.
Yeah.
Like however you put that off, that's your business. Like I think I don't even call myself religious. Like I'm more of a live right and right things will happen, and whatever the afterlife is, you'll be rewarded for living right. And so I'm an alpha. You know what I mean? So I pledge I'm Greek or whatever. Like the different organizations. Yeah, we our principles are worded differently, but they're the same. Yeah. And it's just like with religion, like they're worded differently. There are different attributes, that are attributed to these individuals. But at the end of the day, an alpha, sigma, kappa, and omega, like.
Yeah, there's that. Although kappas, they have this connection with sweater vests.
Got so one of their principles.
I feel like it's in their principles.
One of their principles is let's outdress you, and that's cool. Like I get it, dress for the job you want, not the job.
Not when you're playing kickball though. You don't need no sweater vest when you're playing kickball.
Kappas definitely originated the loafer with no sock in the black community. Like the Kappas were the first with the loafer no sock.
That's
we
true.
just had Brian Burley on from Young Black Pittsburgh.
Okay.
He's a Kappa. He came to the podcast. He had the jeans rolled up, frayed with the hard bottom shoes, no socks. That was super Kappa-ish. I respect that. You know what I mean? But the Kappa, the organization and its founding, not much different from an alpha. And like most religions they're an offspin of whatever you believe the original religion was. Everything else is an offspin of it. Just Alpha is the quote unquote original black fraternity. Everything else derives from it. And it's just how you spin it, how you present it.
I guess I don't know anything about fraternities, but when it comes to religion, like, I mean, there is a baseline, and like, you know, I took a quick chronology course. There's mala and se and mala prohibita. I mean, like, bad in itself and bad because I say so. And like all of the religions have mala, you know what I mean, and say, like, bad in itself. You don't have to tell people killing is wrong. You know what I mean? Like, and you have that across. It's the mala prohibita that like fucks with me with a lot of religions. I mean, because like, you know, then that's where the oppression and the control comes in, because you're arbitrarily making rules up that are like, why is this?
Well, again, it's that derivative of the original. Well, there's the original understanding, and then now you attribute this certain behavior to, you know, being in contradiction to that original belief.
There's the, you know, the sun worship and like, oh, we were just trying to make sense of what happened in the world. There's that part. Then there's the part where it's like, look, man, like, you know, maybe you shouldn't kill people. That's not really a cool thing, right?
Unless you're trying to take their land.
Yeah, and then
they gotta go.
And that's the mala hyperdavid. It's like when it comes into it's like, all right, well, then this is how. And understand that society, you know what I mean, like, and religion had a huge part in shaping, you know, like society and like the moral codes that we have and whatnot. I just think that, you know, at some point, and you know, in history, like they're, you know, not thinking, at some point in history, it was hijacked by people with power, and then they used that to, you know, promote an agenda. You know what I mean, and
that's
now you see,
they allow you to manipulate that and push whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, and today, like, I see so much of that, you know, so pervasive that like it, you know, because you know, my mom, you know, she's, you know, in church or whatever, like, but she spends a lot of time like, you know, giving out food and like doing things like, you know what I mean, but you see like private motherfuckers with private jets and shit. You know what I mean? And like, and it's crazy because I see so much more of the negative side of it, where like, you know, I walk into McDonald's and there's a pastor with a chain and a 3-piece suit on, but his members of the church aren't eating. You know what I mean? Like they're giving out 15, 10%.
Or a pastor who was riding around in this city with the Range Rover. I won't talk about that specific church, but
I mean,
range. But your church is built around motherfuckers who ain't eating. You better get you a Camry, fam.
Exactly. It's like, come on, man. So it's like, it's tough. And I see it, and I think that like, if we're, you know, I don't think that, you know, the church can never be a good thing or that everything about it is bad. I think that it's a conversation that needs to be had, and that like a lot of people are adverse to having, because as soon as you start to question, you know, someone's religion, say, hey, maybe you got these bad views from your institution, then it's automatically, no, we can't have that conversation because everything that, you know what I mean, I learned is right, and that's because, you know what I mean, I got it on Sunday and it is what it is. And I think that stunts our growth.
Well, I got a question too, and this is the question I'm even kind of asking myself, because, you know, I think I know what pastor you're talking about with the Range Rover. And if you are a pastor of a large church, a successful church, you're basically like a CEO.
Yeah.
You're running a corporation. And if you're running a corporation and you're working 70, 80 hours a week and you're making 120, 130 a year, I mean, it's like, and that's one of them things. It's like, on one hand, I'd feel the same way you do, where it's like, you know, if you're a person of the church, then maybe you shouldn't have like luxury items or whatever. But at the same time, if you're a CEO and you're working and you're putting in like 60, 70 hour work weeks and you're making, a upper middle class salary, then you should have an upper middle class life.
Yeah, I don't know if upper middle class can afford. Well, I got Range Rover and Pittsburgh, I guess in Pittsburgh.
Upper middle class is Range Rover. Yeah,
because like in a city like Pittsburgh, the land you buy, you know, if you buy cheap land, that upper middle class salary stretches. Now, if you in an East Coast city, now it ain't gonna stretch. So what I'll say about that is this: I've questioned myself about that too. I don't particularly have an issue with a pastor enjoying the fruits of his labor.
Yeah.
Because it is laborious. You know what I mean? What I will say is this. We, as the congregation, look to these pastors look to these representatives as holier than thou, but they are us. They are us.
Well, yeah,
they
and
just
that's-
have chosen a profession
Yeah,
where they
that's
choose
wrong.
to report. He is still a man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and a man gonna want his car to be right.
Yeah,
You
and I
feel
remember
me?
Bill Burr had a bit where he was talking about how he couldn't get into church.
Yeah.
Because he was like, yo, I remember you
What
in high
album
school.
was
Your
that?
name was Philip. And now you were in the choir, in the glee club, and now you're doing this.
Yeah, like that's
Yeah, you ain't special. And
That's
that,
why. So I think we need to stop putting these individuals on a pedestal. He works for the church. He is not an angel.
Well,
you feel me? Like
Oh,
that,
no,
there's a
I
huge
agree with
difference.
that. I agree with that.
I fully understand, you put in the work, you should be compensated for it. I fully understand that. My thing is that you're doing it under the teachings of Christ, right? The teachings of Christ do not involve a Range Rover. Like, there's
He
just
didn't
not
have Christ didn't have a Camry. You
Yeah, like,
understand?
he-
To
like-
Jesus, a fucking Hyundai Santa Fe, that would have been a Range Rover.
Yeah, like I mean,
So-
and the money that you're doing this with, you're doing it from people who typically like don't have it to really
That
give.
is- that
Yeah, I
is
mean,
true.
so I think that like if you're gonna devote yourself to that, it's kind of like non-profit organizations who make a large profit.
But
I
they
look at
all
them,
do.
they all do exactly, and that's the thing that I kind of look at it like. It's like you're supposed to be this beacon of like community. Same thing with politicians. Like you're a politician, like you should take enough to live and to like enjoy and have a decent life because you're doing something good. But like the luxury side of it, like it's like it's
But it's just, but again,
'Cause I don't put that on anybody else.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate here though. But if those type of entities, your nonprofits, your religious institutions, your politics, if you want to attract the best people, then yeah, you have to make it. I mean, yeah, you're not going to become. They're not commanding $1 million salaries. They might make $1 million off of books or speaking or touring, whatever, but they're not getting that type of money.
Yeah.
But you do have to. These are people. This is what they're doing for a living, and they have families, and these are high pressure jobs. So I get what you're saying, but I do feel like what. If you're putting in the work, even if the work is supposed to be like a community good work, you're still supposed to get compensated for it.
And not even just that. Those executive directors, they got to go sit in rooms to get those large donations from super capitalists. So you got to look a certain way. You have to have a certain lifestyle that they can deal with.
It's messy. It's messy.
It does get messy because
even as I'm saying this, I don't even know how much I believe it.
but
but
it
I
is
feel
true,
like it's
though.
true.
It is
Yeah.
true
Yeah.
because like if I'm a millionaire and I'm looking to donate my money and this dude come in and he look like, I'm just trying to survive, I might not talk to him the way I talk to a dude who's an executive director of a successful nonprofit who's like, yo, we got the money to put the message out that you're here. Look at me.
Yeah.
He don't say look at me, but you look at him because he's standing in front of you.
I get it because I fully
kinda
understand,
how I go.
as a black dude, I know how I got a code switch. I got to like dress a certain way to get into certain rooms that, like speak how I speak, the opportunities that we
switch is
do.
real.
So I fully understand it. I just think that there's a level where it becomes frivolous. And and that's where it becomes like, when you're taking more than you're giving, like what your worth is to your community. If your community is worth more to you than you are to your community, that's when and now how do you judge that? That's a debate.
And and I think that's the question right there. Is like, so if there is a point, where is the point? Like, is the difference between a Honda Santa or a Honda Santa Fe and a Range Rover, or is it between a Range Rover or a private jet? Like, where's the line where it's like,
Both
what,
y'all
this
gotta
is
watch Greenleaf, by the way.
this is like too much.
Yeah,
Is an Audi too much, or an Acura?
A private jet, man.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's
that's-
a private jet. That's a whole nother.
Who was that?
Who was
Yeah.
that?
Like, I just
that
Creflo
kid?
Dollar.
Creflo? Yeah,
Creflo
Creflo
Dollar.
Dollar.
No,
Yeah.
they were
got
talking. I just saw a clip of these two. I forget the two white dudes on it, but he was talking about how like I got to fly in this this private jet because I don't I wanted to talk to the Lord directly. You know what I mean? And I was sitting in my private jet, and
See, I
the
couldn't
Lord,
fuck with
the
that.
Lord
Yeah,
talked to
that's why
me,
that's-
and I
couldn't
got
fuck
up
with that.
and I reached up, and my private jet, my private pilot asked me, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "Don't worry, I'm talking to the Lord." And then the other dude was like, "Yeah, see, the thing is that you can't take these coach flights because if you're talking to the Lord and you stand up like that, they're gonna ask questions and things like that. You're justifying a private jet
Yeah, I
so
can't
that
fuck with that.
That's some charlatan.
Yeah,
That's
I
some
mean-
Steve Harvey shit. Right there.
Yeah, that's
so
some
you can
fuck
have
shit, but
a direct conversation,
Yeah,
an
that's
out loud conversation with God,
And that's
like,
that prosperity preaching.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
they,
yeah,
they don't really do that as much here, but like in the South, that's really big. The prosperity churches and pastors and stuff like that.
I just wanted, like, my thing, because I'm not religious in any way, shape, but my thing for me was I was in a church, my whole life or whatever. I was about 16, and the pastor said, he had this little sermon, and in the sermon he was like, you give 10%, that's tithes, that's 10%, but when you give 10%, you don't give 10%, from your net, because God comes before the government, so you got to give 10% of your gross. And I was 16, sitting in this church, like, I swear that's not in the Bible anywhere. Like, yeah, I mean, like, it was
well,
at
that's
that
again,
point.
you take the original point, and then there are derivatives.
Yeah, like, and then at that point, and it wasn't a huge church. It wasn't like, but it was just like, I'm like, this is off. Like, something is, like, these motherfuckers. I'm looking around, and like, he had a decent suit. I'm looking around the congregation, and I knew with my living situation, we were poor. You know what I mean? And I know that every time, the only time I would get money sometimes was to put it in the collection plate. Like, I ain't get no candy this week. I got $1 just so I could put it in the collection plate. I'm trying to slide 50 cents that she gave me so I can get some penny candy after this. Yeah, I mean, to feel guilty about it. And you're talking about 10% versus net and gross. So it was like that. It was like kind of my introduction, like my understanding, like maybe this isn't all on the up and up. And that's where I guess, like, my skew and my with the debate is like, when does it become nefarious?
So let's just agree on this. Everybody who works for the church, for the religion, is not really they're not really working for it. They're working for the institution, and the actual religion is different from the institution of church. I would say that's fair. Personally, like, the actual institution of religion is not the same as the institution of church, because church can be strictly for profit. And everybody who represents
there's some overlap, but I do think they're two separate entities. Yeah,
Right.
I'll say that.
So
With a lot
let
of
me
overlap.
ask you this before we adjourn. One, to you, what is a very smart brother, and how has that changed with there's more information just out there? Like, how has that changed in your opinion?
Wow. No, you know what? That I've been on a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviews, and no one's ever asked me that. What is a very smart brother? Like, what does that mean?
That's Ed, man. That's why he makes the big bucks.
Yeah.
I wish. I'm trying to get like one of these pastors out here, though. I'm be the pastor podcast.
All right. So very smart brother, it's the name that we came up with. And the reason why we came up with that name, if you remember back in 2008, that was when like a lot of like really ironic sounding blog names were like really popular, like stuff white people like. And so very smart brothers came along in that vein. And so
That's wild that it was, that a very smart brother is, it was even like a wild name or whatever.
Yeah. And we knew that people would be like, "Oh, very smart brothers." Like how you said when you first saw my shirt, like, who's this nigga?
Yeah.
I will say, and I am guilty of that. As you see a dude walking through a grocery store, you're like, "Why I ain't smart, fam?"
Yeah, well, who the fuck you think you is? Very smart brother. Nigga, fuck out of here. So we get that, and I recognize that, and today, if you look at our site VSB, it's not just men. It's we have women, we have all types of people writing, leaving content that are part of the platform. But anyway, very smart brother today is just someone who I hate saying woke, because I feel like that's every year there's like a collection of words that, okay, we're done with this word.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, and I feel like in 2018 we're gonna be done with woke.
Yeah.
I feel
woke
like
is on his way out.
Yeah.
I'm sick
Once
of
I
hearing
saw,
that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Miley Cyrus or Katy Perry where they had a woke post about them. I was like, oh, yeah, that's just dead.
Yeah, woke. I think woke is on a way out. It's like on life support.
Yeah.
But I think that you just, and this goes for any black person in 2017. You just have to be aware of shit that's happening. You have to be aware, and you have to be willing to think outside of yourself. and recognize that, even if certain things may not be affecting you personally, they matter, they're important. And also being I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Being secure enough in your blackness so that you don't feel a need to leave it or to escape it, and to oh, I can't be as black as I want to be if I want to go to school. Or no, that shit ain't true. You could be black because being black is like limitless. And
yes,
so
it is.
I think that those are like the ideals that I try to live by, and I hope that people, who are trying to be progressive and try to make the world a better place. I got all Stevie Wonder and shit up here, like making the world a better place. But anyway, I feel like that Stop the Violence video from like 1998. But anyway, that's my answer. I'm done.
Nah, I do think there has been a shift in that understanding. Because like growing up, a very smart brother, he wasn't even necessarily looked at in a positive light from his peers, because it was like, oh, you get good grades, this, that, and that, you think you better than us. But now it does feel like a very smart brother is woke, for lack of better words.
Okay, now, did you experience that? Because I feel like a lot of black people talk about that, about like kids getting picked on because they were smart or whatever.
I don't think it's necessarily getting picked on.
But I feel like I don't think that really happened.
Now,
it's not
let
getting
me.
picked on.
All right, so like, growing up, because I was always the kid that would just like, finish my test and read the book, and then like I would just give my test out to whoever else so they could copy it. I get my homework done and everybody would copy off of me. But the thing is that there is
pandered for your
popularity. Well, there's a correlation between intelligence and social skills, right? Mm-hmm. So a great majority of the very smart brothers or whatever typically weren't like very adept socially.
Yeah.
So they were picked on, and it wasn't because they were smart. It was because they were awkward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I was
principles.
Yeah, and I was having a talk with a friend before, and they were like, "Well, how did you you seem to be cool, whatever, but like you're also smart. How do you account for that?" And I don't know. I mean, to be honest, like I'm looking back at my past, and I'm like, well, like I learned at a young age. Like I was a small kid, so I got picked on. I was like, all right, well, I got to do some wild shit so I don't get picked on or whatever. It was like almost a survival mechanism. I'm not sure, but I do believe that there are, and that's just anybody. It's not just the black community. Anybody that's like, socially awkward, typically they are a little bit smarter. They're more introverted. Like, like they get picked on or whatever. I think that it's more so, I guess, more prominent in the black community because, outside of the society, we're only looked at as a certain way. So if you didn't fit into that, like, it was harder to kind of like, where do you fit in as a black person? Like, we all like play basketball and like, NFL, this, that, and the other or whatever. There's not too many types, because like that was our ticket. Yeah. It was like, we got to do this or that to get out or whatever. Whereas like white people can be whoever the fuck they want. Like if you were a little weird, there was a weird ass like comic crowd. Like I hung out with the white comic nerds. I hung out with the white hockey nerds. I hung out with the white these types of, I hung out with the black, comic nerds. I hung out with a bunch of different people, but like, there were more variety of folks because they had more opportunities, because their parents were telling them, you could be weird and be, exceptional, and you didn't get that as much in the community. In my opinion.
I ain't had that. Here's what I'll say. I don't think we necessarily pick on intelligence in our community. I don't think that's necessarily the case, because I know some weirdos that I went to school with that wasn't getting good grades. I was fortunate enough to, in high school, like I was intelligent, and you got to earn your way into the in crowd, because a lot of times that quote unquote lack of intelligence, which at that point is measured by book smarts. I knew hustlers. I knew dudes who was doing some things in high school that it took a lot of thought. Like, it wasn't necessarily conducive to what we were doing at high school, but they thought things through. So you look at somebody that's getting straight A's, we isolate those individuals in these inner city schools. Now you got the honors for the SCOPE program that we called it back home, where all of a sudden they taking you out your school, they sending you to another school within the same school district, but now you in this SCOPE program, you got different classes, different lunch times and shit like that. So one, these people are isolated. it. Too, again, it's more of a social thing. Like me, like I ended up getting with, a couple of shorties back in the day. Like all of a sudden I'm introduced to this in crowd and they like, oh, he is a cool guy. And they're surprised because I'm taking classes with the people that they don't think are cool, but they looking like, oh, he dressed like I dress. He cool like I'm cool. So I don't think we necessarily pick on it, but kind of like what we touched on earlier, there is some envy, not just like we touched on with money and stuff like that. There's some envy, but like, all right, he has this intelligence. I don't view myself in that light. And I think we need to attack that with these younger kids. Like don't view yourself as less than because you may not be in that honors program. Like intelligence, and I think that just goes back to my original question, like intelligence has changed. Like understanding, awareness, just being like introspective in itself is like a large part of intelligence now, because
self-awareness is
because
rare.
now the platforms are not necessarily governed by large entities. You can create a very smart brothers and build that through just an organic relationship that you have online, where you respect what he's saying, he respects what I'm saying, and there are people out there, because we can touch so many more people who will be like, you know what, I rocks with this. You know what I mean? So I wanted to ask you that. We do have to ask where the people can find you, because for the listeners who are not familiar, get familiar.
Very Smart Brothers is verysmartbrothers.com. I don't tweet a lot, but when I do tweet, I do from the Very Smart Brothers page. So that's Very Smart Bros. I'm on Instagram, kind of, sort of, D Young Champ. On Instagram and Facebook, just Damon Young. Also Very Smart Brothers on Facebook too.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for coming, Dave. Let the people know where they can find us.
We are Drinking Partners. If you're looking for us, you can find us on epicastnetwork.com/partnerspod. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, and Google Play under Drinking Partners. You can find us on iTunes, or you can find us on IG, Twitter, and Facebook at PartnersPod. Also want to give a big shout out to Voodoo Brewing for hosting, for sponsoring the show. This HBC 630, they didn't even want us to tell you about it, man. But this is a nice hazy IPA.
Yeah, and it's lighter too.
Yeah,
it's lighter.
It's
too.
a nice
like
citrusy.
5.5.
Yeah, nice
so
citrusy.
It's got flavor.
Yeah, it's got a good flavor. Yeah, I mean, the body on it or whatever.
I'm not a beer drinker, but it was tasty.
Well, he got the American honey over here. We can't shout them out because they don't pay us.
Damn, man. But yeah, shout out to Voodoo. And check them out in Homestead, Meadville, Erie, and soon to be in Cleveland. And you heard it here first, fellas.
Yes. Yo, we want to thank Damon Young for coming on, having a great conversation. I enjoyed that. Thank Voodoo for fueling my conversation, because I'm feeling a little bit open right now. I'm talking like that. I'll be honest about that. But as always, Drinking Partners is the crew. Epicast is the family, and we out of here.